Hello, challengers. Welcome to the pilot episode of Bold is Fit. And in today's episode, we have none other than the indomitable man machine, leader of men, Virat Kohli.
Injured right now, but it's okay. Yes.
The next question in our segment comes from Sadiq, Dubai. There used to be a time cricketers were asked to run many miles for endurance. Today, people talk about weight training, interval, and speed work. Does long distance running still help?
At times, I wouldn't say long distance, but I would say more explosive running over long distances is something that works more in this day and age. For me, if I have to do endurance, I would rather do that with my skill. Say a fast bowler, I would rather have him bowl more in the nets rather than running laps around the ground and getting tired, which the body does not really have any use of because you're not making any of the movements that are required on the field. Explosive training allows you to make certain movements in the field, and those small little muscles come into play at the important times. But I feel to build endurance, obviously you got to do your skill more in the nets is the only way you build endurance. For me as a batsman, I would bat longer in the nets and keep challenging myself with small intervals to have that endurance built, along with running between the wickets and so forth. So it has to be very specific. I'm not a big fan of running 10-15 laps around the ground. As I said, once in a while, I would do shuttles, I would do interval training to improve my endurance, and that's about it. But it has to be very sports specific.
Dinesh from Coimbatore wants to know whether supplements are necessary, and he has been consuming whey protein and some other stuff. Your take on this?
Depends on, I think supplements depend on your workloads. That's something that I've experienced. As a cricketer, I felt like my workload is probably more than normal people. So I had to take, a few more supplements than a normal person would do who's working in the gym. Because once you have that kind of, exertion in the field, say in a test match over a period of 5 days, you need something extra to recover from that kind of workload. So that's what I felt over the years, that yes, protein shakes and other supplements do help, but depends on the workload. If I'm not doing anything, I won't sit down and have a protein shake. It's literally to give my body ample recovery and ample nutrition. Because of the way I train, my training is becomes such that I need to have that extra in my diet for me to be able to recover, but the right things. I wouldn't go reckless with the supplements. I only take what is required for my body. For a normal person, I would not recommend too many supplements. I think the three things that come to mind straight away for a normal person would be, in terms of supplements, in terms of tablets or capsules, would be fish oil, multivitamin, and a probiotic. And other than that, I think a post-workout protein is all a normal person needs if they have that kind of exertion in the gym. But also what that does is it increases the protein intake in your diet, which in turn helps you maintain that balance and keep your weight in check.
Rishabh from Calcutta wants to know what is the best strategy to recover from a game or a session or even a fitness work. And he has been stretching all his life. Is there anything else he can add up?
I'm not a big fan of stretching just by myself. I would rather do a pool session, stretch in the pool, where there's some kind of assistance for the body to make certain movements, but at the same time to do some exercises there's a resistance as well. So I think it balances the body out pretty well. Ice baths are pretty good as well. Obviously for normal people, ice baths, they don't necessarily need it because again the workload is not such, but I would say rather stretch in the pool than by yourself, and just run around in the pool is probably the best recovery, and nothing better than sleep. Initially when I was on my plan, I used to sleep 8 to 10 hours, and that's the only way my body recovered and I woke up very fresh.
Sean from Melbourne wants to know that in a cricket field, whether you throw the ball, bowl or hit a ball, all this gets over in a few seconds. So is it important to train for speed and power or endurance?
As I mentioned before, important to train for speed and power. Endurance can be achieved by doing your skill repeatedly, is what I feel. I would not waste my energy doing endurance running. If I have to have a training session, I would rather do shuttles, as I mentioned, interval training, or do strength and power and explosive training in the gym, that is weights. But apart from that, yes, mobility exercises here and there, but apart from that, I would rather do my skill more to improve my endurance rather than running around the ground without achieving anything with it. So explosive training, power training, strength training has totally changed my perspective about standing on the field and being able to do certain things. And with interval training, my recovery is better as well, because as a batsman I have to keep running between the wickets, and that is the aim of interval training, that you get back onto that, if you're doing it on a treadmill, say, you get back onto that treadmill sooner and you run for longer, so that your recovery is fast. So your body understands when it has to run between the wickets, your recovery is fast, so you can go ball after ball. You don't get tired after 2-3 balls. You can actually run 6 balls at the same speed, and that's where the training counts.
This is a very nice question from Amit, Mumbai. The modern cricketer plays a lot of cricket. There are 3 formats, and injuries and fitness have been a major concern across the world. You have been very successful in terms of performance and in terms of keeping yourself injury free, barring your last freak injury incident. Other than that, you have been pretty successful in taking care of your body. Is there any secret behind this?
I would not say the modern cricketer runs a risk of injuries. I would say modern day player runs a risk of burnouts. That's something that a player needs to keep in mind, because you cannot possibly go on for season after season with the same kind of intensity in every game with every ball that you play. You need to understand, listen to your body. Obviously your body will get tired. It doesn't mean that you train professionally or you train a certain way that you won't get tired. After a certain stage, your body does need rest, and you need to respect that. So I think it's about managing your time properly. I don't think it's that much of a concern where injuries come into the picture, because I don't feel like standing on the field I would get injured in any way. I don't feel stiffness in my legs, I don't feel stiffness on the sides, I don't feel stiffness in my shoulder, so I have literally no thoughts of me pulling or tearing any muscle in my body unless it's an impact thing which happened recently. So if you train smart, if you manage your time well, your burnout can be handled as well, and your diet is the most important thing. If you continue with your food habits and your training, 99% of the time you will not get injured doing any kind of movement. So that's something that I feel that standing on the field.
Akash from Mumbai wants to know this. My coach feels weight training will hamper cricket. Your take on weight training?
I think that's a very old way of thinking about cricket in general. I think the game has moved on tenfolds from that kind of thinking. That's the kind of thinking I think where you run 10-15 laps of the ground to do training and all those sort of things. As I said, you can keep continuing with your skill, but to sustain levels of fitness and stamina and energy, you need to lift weights, but lift it smartly. As I said, you don't want to be standing and doing static exercises too much. Your body needs to move in an explosive manner for you to develop that explosive strength in your body. So, and it depends on the diet as well. I'm not a fan of people eating anything and not training smart and expecting to do explosive movements on the field. You can do that for one season, but the next season the results will show itself. When the body starts breaking down, there's no stamina left, the muscles get tired, there's no recovery because people don't have patterns. So I think that's a very old way of thinking, and I certainly do not connect to that anymore. I used to be of that mold, but I think explosive training, strength training, power training has really changed the whole dimension for me.
And Jasprit from Lucknow wants to know how important is flexibility, and more importantly, he wants to know whether he needs to do static stretches or more dynamic mobility work.
I would rather do dynamic mobility than stretching, standing in one spot. Dynamic mobility, obviously in the morning, I think it's a great thing to do. When you wake up and you want to just warm up and loosen up, run around a little bit and do dynamic mobility, I think it's the best way. Using the TheraBands as well to activate your leg muscles is a great exercise as well. But yeah, I would rather prefer dynamic mobility any day over static stretches.
Thanks a ton, Virat. I mean, the answers were so spontaneous and spot on.
Thank you so much.
And it is actually a blessing for millions across the world. The takeaways are huge. And if somebody uses this judiciously, it's going to be amazing for them. And it's very important they consult a professional. And the way forward is very simple. Follow the advice, consult a professional, be sustained in your discipline and focus, and have a ball. And that's the way to go.